Oh, there it is. It looks like the crew access arm is beginning to move away from Starliner. You can see the white room ever so slightly starting to make its swing.
Again, this is one of the last major steps. The next is the launch vehicle pull. Then we will release the 4-minute hold, and then we're ready for launch.
CST 100 on internal power.
Verified.
Now as that crew access arm retracts, again, the final pull for today is the launch vehicle pull. If you've watched Atlas launches, it will sound very familiar. There's a big old piston pulling back that crew access arm.
And after Atlas is declared ready for launch, NASA and Boeing will jointly decide whether they're going to move forward with the countdown.
Again, about 9 minutes away from launch.
All right, and there you see the crew access arm just finishing its swing away from the Atlas V rocket and Starliner. And we want to go over to Dylan Rice in the ASOC for a status update. Dylan?
Hey, Marie. So we're continuing to have a very clean countdown here. We're just a few moments away now from Chief Launch Conductor Doug Lebo conducting that terminal count status check poll, which will take us into our final countdown to launch. That terminal count status check poll is the final check from each operators associated with the ground systems, the launch vehicle, the spacecraft, and the Eastern Range to ensure that all systems are ready to go for us to proceed into a terminal count and get the rocket launched. So we're just about a minute away from that now. And I can tell you that, we've executed this countdown many times for a variety of different missions, but the countdown today feels quite a bit different than what we've normally done. The excitement here is just unbelievable, and we are very, 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 very excited to see this mission go and go on time, especially with such a clean countdown like we've had today. So we're really looking forward to this. The team has not been talking any issues at all on any of the other nets that I've been listening to. So when that terminal count status check starts, we're expecting to hear goes across the board. So I think we'll stand by here and listen for Chief Launch Conductor Doug Lebo to get that poll started here in about 20 seconds, I think.
Status check to proceed with terminal count. Atlas systems, propulsion, go. Hydraulics, go. Pneumatics, go. LO2, go. Water, go. Centaur systems, propulsion, go. Pneumatics, go. LO2, go. LH2, go. Has gas, go. Electrical systems, airborne, go. Ground, go. Facility, go. RFFDS, go. Flight control, go. GCQ, go. Op support, go. Com, go. Umbilicals, go. Arm control, go. ECS, go. Redline monitor, go. Quality, go. Op safety manager, go. ULA safety officer, go. Vehicle system engineer, go. Anomaly chief, go. Range coordinator, clear to proceed. Flight director,
Flight is go.
launch director,
LD is go, and LC, you have permission to launch.
proceeding with the count. ALC, verify T0 is set for 11:36:43 Zulu.
Verified.
Well, Josh, Marie, you heard it. We are go for launch, right on time.
All right, thanks, Dylan. Yeah, we heard some cheers behind us over at the press site when we heard that you have permission to launch. And I know they're feeling good about that over in the Boeing Mission Control Center. Tori's standing by over there, and we're hearing she's got a very special guest to say hello.
Thanks, Marie. Yes, I do have a very special guest here today. I have Chris Ferguson, first Boeing astronaut and former Space Shuttle commander. So Chris, you heard the poll. You were here, being part of some of the other polls this morning. Can you tell us how it's going?
Well, every launch has its exciting moments. We had a few earlier with a minor issue that came up, but we've developed all the necessary rationale to go flying. And you just listen to the poll. Basically, everybody is in line and in agreement that we're in a good configuration to go fly. So it was a little close, but hey, we're going to be off to the races here in a few short minutes.
I know this is a really exciting time, right? Less than 5 minutes here until launch. So, it's funny when we say we're less than 5 minutes to launch, but I know that you've been on the program for about 8 years now. So all of this, I know, has been leading up to this moment and to CFT. Can you tell us a little bit more about your role within the Starliner program?
I joined the program about, like you said, 8 years ago, shortly after the space shuttle program ended, and it's been wonderful to be a part of the team. It's been wonderful to have some influence in the design, and now it's almost surreal. There it is out on the pad. The labor of the last 8.5 years is sort of coming to it's game day, right? The big test is, and mind you, our big game, right, for the spacecraft actually begins when the launch vehicle releases us 11 minutes from now. So we've got a lot of work to do, even though this is the exciting part that everybody enjoys watching the launch. Our big test really begins when the launch vehicle sort of releases us, and we have to go, perform all the necessary demonstrations to get ready to dock to the International Space Station tomorrow. So we've got a busy 24 hours.
Yeah, Chris, that is really exciting, right? It's busy, but I know the teams here are up for the challenge.
Absolutely.
All right, Josh, Marie, thanks for coming to us. Back to you.
Well, it was great hearing from Chris. We are 3 minutes and 20 seconds away. The T-minus 4 minute hold was released while Chris was telling us about how excited he is for Starliner. So we are going to quiet down, listen into the loops. I want to note that on ascent, because we have so many control rooms, you will be hearing reports from the Atlas Space Flight Operations Center, from JSC, and Marie and I will stick around.
Securing LO2 topping.
Atlas tanks to flight pressure.
2 minutes, 50 seconds.
MTS internal.
Two and a half minutes. Atlas tanks are at flight levels. Centaur will be momentarily.
If you're just joining us, we're approaching 2 minutes from the very first flight of Boeing CST-100 Starliner to the International Space Station.
159,
Vehicle internal.
155,
Launch sequencer start.
150,
Securing Centaur LH2.
Securing Centaur LO2.
The rocket is now on internal power as well. Both Atlas and Centaur
140.
tanks.
Launch enabled.
137,
FTS armed.
That was the flight termination software. If Atlas veers off course.
120,
OC is armed.
SCS count started. EDS ascent mode.
That was that emergency detection system, EDS.
T-minus 1 minute.
Rock, report range status.
Range green.
54,
VLP started.
Seconds.
T-minus 25 seconds.
Status check.
Go Atlas.
Go Centaur.
Go Starliner.
Go Starliner. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff. The rise of Starliner and a new era in human spaceflight.
Clear the tower. Now 10 seconds into flight. Vehicle's begun the pitch over program. Body rate responses look good. Now 15 seconds in. VU's gone to close loop control. RD-180 looks good at full thrust. Seeing good chamber pressure on both SRBs. Now 26 seconds into flight. RD-180 now throttling down to partial thrust as expected. Engine response looks good. Now 38 seconds in. RD-180 engine operating parameters continue to look good. Vehicle is now passing through max Q, maximum dynamic pressure. Chamber pressures on both SRBs continue to look good. RD-180 engine operating parameters also continue to look good. Now passing 1 minute into flight. And Mach 1, Atlas 5 is now supersonic. And vehicle now throttling up. Engine response looks good. Continue to see good chamber pressure on both SRBs. 1 minute, 20 seconds into flight. Body rate responses on the vehicle look good. 1 minute, 30 seconds in, standing by for SRB burnout. And we have burnout on both solid rocket boosters. Atlas will hold on to the SRBs for an additional 48 seconds prior to jettison. RD-180 has gone back up to full thrust as expected. Engine response looks good. 1 minute, 50 seconds in. Atlas is now 17 miles in altitude, 11.5 miles downrange distance, traveling at 2,300 miles per hour. Now passing 2 minutes into flight. RD-180 engine operating parameters continue to look good at full thrust. And at 2 minutes, 11 seconds into flight, the Atlas rocket now weighs just 1/2 of what it did at launch, burning propellant at a rate of 2,800 pounds per second. And we've seen good indication of jettison of both solid rocket boosters. Vehicle's gone to closed loop guidance. Now just under 2 minutes remaining in the booster phase of flight. 2 minutes, 35 seconds into flight. RD-180 continues to perform well. Engine's now throttling down slightly. Engine response looks good. And Atlas 5 is now traveling at over 5 times the speed of sound. Centaur reaction control system is now pressurizing to flight levels. System response looks good. Three minutes, 10 seconds into flight. Atlas 5 is now 38 miles in altitude, 80 miles downrange distance, traveling at 5,800 miles per hour. RD-180 engine operating parameters continue to look good. Now 1 minute remaining until engine cutoff. Body rate responses continue to look good throughout the booster phase of flight. And RD-180 is now throttling to maintain a constant 3.5 G acceleration limit. Engine responses will all look good. Three minutes, 55 seconds into flight. And Centaur's begun the boost phase chill down sequence. 20 seconds to BECO. RD-180 continuing to look good as it throttles to maintain that constant 3.5 G acceleration limit. Atlas PU has gone to open loop in preparation for BECO. And standing by for BECO. And we have BECO booster engine cutoff, standing by for stage separation. And we have good indication of stage separation. We have pre-start on the RL-10, standing by for ignition.
We have ignition and full thrust on both RL-10 engines. Chamber pressures look good on both engines.
We have confirmation of ascent cover jettison on Starliner.
Aeroskirt jettison. And we have good indication of aeroskirt jettison. Centaur now resuming active attitude control after successful aeroskirt jettison. Chamber pressures on both RL-10 engines continue to look good.
This was a very critical piece of the mission here. Staging is always a very dynamic piece of flight.
Now passing 5 minutes, 30 seconds into flight. And the Centaur RCS system is beginning the initial thruster firings for system thermal conditioning. System response looks good.
Now once again, Centaur will continue burning for about another 5 minutes.
Now passing 6 minutes into flight. And Centaur is now 95 miles in altitude, 570 miles downrange distance, traveling at 12,000 miles an hour.
Those dual RL-10 engines continue to propel Starliner. They are making up for a little bit of the booster flying a flatter trajectory and at lower thrust, again, to maintain that 3.5 G forces. Again, a first flight for the dual-engine Centaur on an Atlas V. Starliner and Centaur continue to head to orbit.
Throughout this Centaur burn, chamber pressures have remained very stable. Just under 5 minutes now remaining in the burn. And Centaur is now 102 miles in altitude, 800 miles downrange distance, traveling at 12,700 miles per hour. And the Centaur propellant utilization system continuing with active control looks good. Body rate responses are all very close to null.
That means Atlas is flying almost exactly where it needs to be.
Periodic thruster firings as expected. Now passing 8 minutes into flight.
If you are just joining us, 8 minutes into Starliner's first flight. We've been through a successful booster stage separation. Centaur continues to propel Starliner. The next major milestone will be main engine cutoff at 11 minutes and 58 seconds.
Both Centaur RL-10 engines are continuing to perform well throughout the burn. Chamber pressures look good. And now coming up on 9 minutes into flight, Centaur is 101 miles in altitude, 1,200 miles downrange distance, traveling at 14,300 miles per hour.
Now the two control rooms you are looking at on the left, that is ULA's Denver Operations Control Center. They are a backup control room for the control room on the right, which is the actual Atlas Spaceflight Operations Center. They were the ones who launched the rocket about 9.5 minutes ago.
Now close to bottle temperatures.
As you can see, everyone is locked in on their screens, monitoring data. You might have noticed there wasn't much excitement during launch. but ULA will be happy once we get to stage separation, which is coming up almost 15 minutes after launch, so about 5 minutes from now.
Centaur system performance remains nominal throughout this burn, continuing to see stable values on our fuel and oxidizer tank pressures, main vehicle battery temperatures and pressures, and continuing to see good pressures on our helium and hydrazine storage bottles. Telemetry quality has been good throughout this burn, only seeing very brief minor dropouts. Now approximately 1 minute remaining in the burn.
So once again, after Starliner separates from Centaur coming up in about 4 minutes, Starliner will circularize its orbit with an orbital insertion burn. Again, about 30 seconds to main engine cutoff.
Chamber pressures on both RL-10s continue to look good.
Now, ahead of main engine cutoff, we are seeing good tank pressure on Starliner itself. Batteries are in a nominal temperature, good pressure sensor readings from Starliner as it prepares to free fly for the first time in orbit.
Standing by for main engine cutoff. And we have MECO, main engine cutoff. Body rate responses have remained very stable. Now passing 12 minutes into flight.
Now Starliner will stay attached to Centaur again until about 15 minutes, expected to separate at 14 minutes and 58 seconds after liftoff. And that will be the first time Starliner free flies in orbit. And at that point, Richard Jones and his team in Houston will have full control over the vehicle. And they will set it up for an orbital insertion burn that will take place 16 minutes after separation.
Approximately 2 minutes now remaining until OFT capsule separation. Body rate responses continue to look very stable throughout this coast.
So you're looking at the Boeing Mission Control Center there. At this point, they have transitioned to a mission support room. The people you're seeing sitting on console designed, tested, and built Starliner. They are the experts on the systems. So if flight controllers need any help, they will be the ones answering the call.
Now passing 13 minutes, 30 seconds into flight.
Oh, in just over a minute, we're expecting to hear that Starliner has separated from the vehicle.
And about 1 minute now remaining until OFT separation. Body rates in the roll, pitch, and yaw direction, all very close to null. And about 30 seconds away from spacecraft set. Now standing by for spacecraft separation. And we have good indication of separation of the OFT capsule.
There it is. ULA has successfully completed their piece of the mission. Starliner is free flying for the first time in space. From here, the Johnson Space Center mission controllers will be flying Starliner. We will hear reports exclusively from there.
And Starliner's software has been switched to orbit mode, meaning the spacecraft is executing the commands it needs for operating in space following a successful launch into orbit, into the orbital trajectory. This is just one step flight controllers are taking in configuring Starliner now that it's flying on its own. Flight controllers are setting up for the orbital insertion burn, which will take place in about 15 minutes, a little over 15 minutes. And that'll circularize Starliner's orbit as it sets off to chase the International Space Station. The team here is also turning off several systems that were needed for powered flight but are not necessary now that Starliner is in orbit. While some are turned